Simple class. Fairly simple class on WBC functions. Very limited objective. WBC functions. What are WBCs? Yeah, also called as leukocytes. One of the formed elements of the blood, isn't it?
Yeah.
One of the formed elements of the blood. Performing very important functions, primarily of protection, primarily of immunity, fighting against microorganisms and various other problems. These WBCs, where are they coming from? Origin from the bone marrow, like all the formed elements of the blood. So in the bone marrow there are basically stem cells. These stem cells, they will take different lines of growth, okay, depending upon which growth factor is acting on them, okay, causing them to become or take a line of granulocytes or agranulocytes. So basically the WBCs or leukocytes can be divided or are divisible into two groups morphologically. One of them granulocytes, another agranulocytes. What are granulocytes? Why do we call them granulocytes? Because we can see under the microscope, when we study the morphology of the WBCs, we see some of them are having granules in the cytoplasm and some of them not having granules.
All of them have, but granulocytes have specific granules.
Specific granules. Okay? Even lymphocytes and monocytes, the granules, I mean, you have to be really looking for them. Okay? Yeah. But here, they will be very obviously present. Okay? Point number one. Point number two, in the lymphocytes and monocytes, the cytoplasm itself is relatively very less. Relatively very less because of the size of the nucleus. Relatively, the size of the nuclei are very big. And that is what makes the visibility of the granules. Because point number one, there is very less cytoplasm. Point number two, it's difficult to see them. Coming back to the granulocytes, how many granulocytes are there? Basically three. What are they? Yeah, neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. The neutrophils, eosinophils, and the basophils. Total leukocyte count? How much? 4,000 to 11,000 per cubic millimeter of blood, or another unit is per microliter of blood. Okay? 4,000 to 11,000 normally. That is only in thousands. As compared to RBCs, which are in millions, in the same microliter of blood, there will be on an average 5 million RBCs. Isn't it? So if we compare it, the count is very less. Even if we compare it with platelets, the count is less. What is the normal platelet count? 1.5 to 300,000. 150,000 to 300,000 per microliter. So even in comparison with that, very less. But at the same time, one of the most important. When we do the counting, and these are the lymphocytes and the monocytes. The lymphocytes are also divisible into two, small lymphocyte and large lymphocyte. Okay? When we look for the leukocytes, there are two ways we can do that. One is TLC, another is DLC. What is TLC? Total leukocyte count, which gives you straight away whether the leukocytes are 4,000 or 11,000 or somewhere in between. Okay? Normally about 8,000, 10,000 you will find such counts. So that is the total leukocyte count. We are counting the total number of the leukocytes by removing the RBCs. Another way of counting, which is much more useful than the TLC. TLC just gives you a figure. But DLC gives you, maybe helps you in pinpointing the problem. Sometimes it helps you in pinpointing what is wrong with this person. That is why DLC is rather more important, I can say, as compared to TLC. It is a more detailed investigation. And what is that? It is called as differential leukocyte count, not the total. Differential means you are differentiating between the different types of WBCs. Counting actually the different types of WBCs. For that, you have to do particular type of staining, particular type of smear preparation, etc., etc. Okay? In DLC, then you will come across, out of the total leukocyte count, what is the percentage of neutrophils, what is the percentage of eosinophils, and so on and so forth. In every case that you have taken in your PBL still now, there is something called a CBC given, and most of the time the percentages of neutrophils and eosinophils and basophils are also given in the case, isn't it? So you know which is the most abundant. Which is the most abundant of the WBCs? The neutrophils. About 60 to 70% out of the total leukocytes are the neutrophils. Okay. Next comes the lymphocytes. After that, monocytes, eosinophils, and basophils. Basophils are 0 to 1%, very less. Okay. But normally, in every individual, they are present. It's not like 0%. They are not. When we say 0%, what we are trying to say is that there is no basophil in the person. But the thing is, they are so less in number that during our investigation, we are unable to see them. But they are there. So the correct figure is about 1 to 2%. It's not like 0. It's never 0. Okay? It's not 0. They will be there. The only thing is we are not able to see them. So the correct way to tell about the percentage of basophils is about 1 to 2%. Okay? Let us take up the WBCs one by one. Okay? The neutrophils. There are granulocytes, obviously, having granules in them, 60 to 70%, 10 to 12 micron in size, and 2 to 5 lobes in the nucleus. Now, depending upon the number of lobes in the nucleus, you can say about the age of the neutrophil. More the number of lobes, the more old is the neutrophil. And this is called as Arnett count or Arnett index. A-R-N-E-T-H. I did not write it here. A-R-N-E-T-H. Arnett. What is Arnett count or Arnett index? It is the counting of the lobes of the nucleus of the neutrophil, which tell you the age of the neutrophil, by the way. Like it is written here, older the cell, more the lobes in the nucleus. What is the
It's only counting physiological.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, not used. Usually not used. Okay. Small colored granules which contain enzymes, defensins, and oxidants. These granules. Actually, whatever the function of the WBC, like for example, phagocytosis, when we take in the microorganism, it will also carry out lysosomal activity. Isn't it? When the phagosome, once the bacteria or the particle microorganism is inside the phagocyte, that is called as a phagosome. To the phagosome, they are attaching the vacuoles. These vacuoles, they contain digestive enzymes, isn't it? All these digestive enzymes, then they will release inside the phagosome, which will basically cause lysis of the microorganism, isn't it? That is how the whole process of phagocytosis, we will see that. These phagocytic vacuoles or enzymes are most of the time contained inside the granules of the granulocytes. Okay? Defensins and oxidants. Action, whatever it is doing, whatever the neutrophil is doing, is by phagocytosis. Lifespan, a few hours, 4 to 8 hours in the blood, and 4 to 5 days in the tissues. If it is circulating in the blood, it will last for about 4 to 5 hours. If it goes out into the tissues, it will last for about 4 to 5 days. Of course, if it doesn't come into contact with any toxin or microorganism. Otherwise, if it comes in contact with a toxin or a microorganism in the fight, okay, in killing the microorganism, sometimes or most of the time, the neutrophil is also killed off. So the lifespan, this is the normal lifespan, if it doesn't come across anything. Fast response, neutrophilia in bacterial diseases and neutropenia in drug toxicity. Neutrophilia means increase, neutropenia means decrease. Okay? So most of the time, the doctors, they are asking for drug interactions and drug reactions. Okay? And even then, sometimes it happens that some drugs, they cause various harmful effects on the human body. And one of them can be this, which causes any drastic decrease in the number of circulating neutrophils, called as neutropenia, and that occurs because of drug toxicity. Like we are saying since the beginning that all the leukocytes, they are having an important role in defense. So, defending against microorganisms, if there is an infection, at the time of infection, you will find more and more increase in the number of neutrophils. Hence, that is called as neutrophilia during bacterial infection. Okay? Neutrophilia and bacterial diseases. Let's come to eosinophils. Another point is they are called as neutrophils. Why? Because they are having or taking up, their granules are taking up both those stains, pink and blue. Both of them are there, which basically gives it a neutral appearance, hence called as neutrophils. Coming to eosinophils, their granules, they take up eosin stain, pinkish, and very less, almost negligible of the blue stain. Hence, calling them as eosinophils. Point number one. Another point is the difference in the nucleus. There it is multilobed. In the neutrophils it is multilobed. Here it is bi. What is the function of eosinophils? Basically against parasites. Of course in allergy also. But basically against pulmonary. Okay? You will find more and more eosinophils in the pulmonary system, in the lungs. 0 to 4%, size about 10 to 12 microns, bilobed nucleus and coarse acidophilic granules, pink colored stain. Phagocytose antigen antibody complexes and destroys the parasites. So anti-parasitic, most of the major function of the eosinophils is anti-parasitic. Their granules contain various enzymes, one of the major enzymes being major basic protein, MBP. What is major basic protein? Its function is cytotoxic and helminthotoxic. What are helminths? Parasites. Okay? Helminths are parasites. So, cytotoxic and helminthotoxic enzymes are present. And basically, it is called as the major basic protein, MBP, contained inside the granules in the eosinophil. Because of their function, it's easy to remember when do they increase. They increase in allergic conditions. Okay, allergic conditions, and decrease during stress because of the effect of corticoids. Next is, or last in the line of granulocytes are the basophils. Again, here 0 to 1%. In the books always you will find 0 to 1%, but I prefer to say 1 to 2% because it's not 0. It's not there. It is there. Okay, whatever. So 8 to 10%. Nucleus usually bilobed. Here it's difficult to see because of the difference. You will see it in your computers. Again, bilobed nucleus, large, deep purple colored granules which often cover the nucleus. So you will find the granules on the surface of the nucleus also. Secrete heparin. What is heparin? Anticoagulant. serotonin, histamine, and help in inflammation. Okay? And that is why in anaphylactic reactions or allergic reactions also, okay, you will find a lot of histamine being released. You know, even during cold, you have your common cold, isn't it? What do you take for your common cold? Antihistaminics, isn't it? Antihistaminics. Why do we want to take antihistaminics? Because to reduce the inflammatory response that our body is giving. And because of that, we are having a lot of trouble. Even in case of allergic reactions, like for example, asthma. You know about what is happening to the respiratory tract diameters in case of asthma. There is bronchoconstriction. Not only bronchoconstriction, at the same time, there can be, because of the allergic reaction, lots and lots of histamine release, and histamine release causes many changes. One of them, increased mucus secretion. The increased mucus secretion along with the bronchoconstriction will leave very little space for air to move about, and that causes additional trouble for the asthmatic person. When you give, that is why in asthma, the corticoids are given, the steroids are given. Why? Because it reduces all the inflammatory reactions that are occurring. Okay? Next in line is the monocyte. Okay? The monocyte, 12 to 12 microns in size, 3 to 8%, circulate in blood for about 20 to 30 hours. Long lifespan, many weeks to months, because monocytes usually, after circulating in the blood for a day or so, they will leave the blood and go into the tissues. Once in the tissues, they assume the proportions, size and shape of another type of cell. Okay, they become another type of cell. And now they are called as macrophages. Okay, so as macrophages, they can stay there for months, and in some of the books it is written for years also, if they don't come across any microorganism. So they can live in the tissues for months and years. So long lifespan. This is the single nucleus, the single kidney-shaped nucleus. Phagocytosis after converting into macrophage, that is the function. So neutrophils and monocytes, after they become macrophages, their function is to phagocytose unwanted bacterial elements or toxins, etc., etc.
So what about the original monocyte?
Which one?
Phagocytose, the foreign particles.
Huh.
I mean monocyte in the blood.
Yeah.
Phagocytose, the foreign particles.
It will. But primary is the effect of neutrophils over there. Phagocytosis inside the blood, primarily by neutrophils, secondary by macrophages. Phagocytosis in the tissues outside the blood, primarily by monocytes.
Inside
Okay.
the tissue too?
Yeah?
Inside the tissue.
Inside the tissue by monocyte.
No.
In the tissue by macrophages.
In blood motion.
Because at the beginning it's the monocyte and it's converting to phagocyte.
Monocyte.
Monocytes and neutrophils, when they are inside the blood, they are carrying their function of defense. Primary defense inside the blood is by neutrophils. But please remember that monocytes are also there. Another point is, these neutrophils and the monocytes, they are escaping out into the tissues as well. Okay? Out into the tissues. Once they are out into the tissues, they become macrophages. In the tissues, the primary function of phagocytic activity is by monocytes. Okay? And to a lesser extent by the neutrophils, which are again becoming macrophages once they leave the bloodstream. So once these cells leave the bloodstream, they are not called as neutrophils or monocytes. They are called as macrophages. Tissue macrophages. Sometimes. Some of them. Because when there is inflammation, there is a process called as chemotaxis. And by chemotaxis, these cells, they are moving towards the site of inflammation. What are these cells? They are neutrophils and they are monocytes also. Okay? Okay? We will see that also.
Excuse me, Dr. Sam.
Now, lymphocytes.
Can you explain the lifespan? I mean,
Chemotaxis?
No. In blood, then they migrate to tissues or not? All of them?
Not all of them.
No, the granulocytes.
Mhm.
First two neutrophils and eosinophils,
Okay?
and then monocytes.
Yeah.
First they are in blood, then they migrate to tissues. In normal conditions or
It's not then. Yani they are already present in the blood.
okay.
Okay? Some of them, they will migrate out into the tissues.
So they are synthesized. They will circulate in blood for several
Yes.
hours.
Yeah.
Then
Then they will migrate out into the...
in normal conditions,
Yeah.
not.
For protection, see, for example, there is a respiratory system and there is digestive system, which are the primary systems which are exposed to foreign
Yeah.
particles, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Doctor, he's talking about neutrophil, not monocyte.
Only neutrophil
Yeah, because monocyte in normal condition will
Yes.
migrate out.
yeah, migration.
Yeah.
Neutrophils in pathological
Most of
conditions.
them, they remain inside.
Yeah.
Some of them, they also migrate out.
Some of them in normal conditions.
Yeah, even, and the rate will increase during inflammation. Rate of migration will increase during inflammation. Let us see that. It's not going back again. Okay, see here. There is fast response, okay, and neutrophilia in bacterial disease, neutropenia here. Action by phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, it will carry out not only inside the blood, but when required, outside the blood also. When required. Okay? Monocytes, on the other hand, their primary function is not only to stay in the blood for some time so that looking after the blood, but primary function of monocytes is to go out and act as guards in the tissues. And the point that I was trying to tell you, like the GIT tissues and the respiratory tissues, okay? These areas have to be specifically guarded. Why? Because they are constantly exposed to external foreign particles, whether they are microorganisms or toxins, etc., etc. Lifespan, like I have told you, is of few hours, 4 to 8 hours in blood and 4 to 5 days in tissues. So if it is 4 to 5 days in tissues, where are they coming in tissues from? You did not notice this in the beginning.
I noticed, but
Okay.
Doctor, you already said that some of them will remain in blood, right?
Most of them.
Most of them. So
About neutrophils, I am talking
yeah,
about neutrophils.
so their lifespan will increase, not for hours, for 5 hours.
Yes, but usually it is 4 to 5 hours only. Then 60 to 70% neutrophils are there. They will keep on circulating, then they move away, they die. Okay? Some of them, they are moving out into the tissues. If they are out into the tissues, their lifespan increases. Those who are moving out into the tissues, their lifespan will be 4 to 5 days. Otherwise, those who are remaining inside the blood, their lifespan will be 4 to 5 hours. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. About this, they are also circulating in the blood for about 20 to 30 hours, more than the neutrophils. Then they leave, like for about 1 day. Then they leave the circulation, go out into the tissue, and stay there until they die, and until they come across some microorganism. Or if they don't come across any microorganism, you can find a macrophage maybe 1 year old. Okay? So they can live there for many weeks, months and years. Going to the lymphocyte, there are 2 types of lymphocytes, small and large. So obviously there will be 2 type of sizes here, 10 to 14 and 20 to 25. Mostly formed in the lymphoid tissue, some in the bone marrow. Because they are formed in the lymphoid tissue, they are called as lymphocytes. Okay?
Yes.
They are called as lymphocytes. So basically formation means what? Formation is going on in the bone marrow only. But the further process of maturation, okay? Further process of maturation for the lymphocytes occurs in the lymphoid tissue. Do you know which areas?
Thymus.
The thymus gland and bone marrow also. And there is, like there are T lymphocytes and there are B lymphocytes. Why they are called as T and B designated? T for thymus, B for not bone marrow. There is another structure. Actually, this structure is found in birds. And histologically, first during experiments and during things, it is called as the bursa. Bursa of Fabricius. Bursa of Fabricius. It's a bursa. What is a bursa? Have you heard of this name? Bursa? B-U-R-S-A. Bursa is basically a sac, small sac-like structure, which is basically present as a protective cushion between a bone and a tendon. Like there is patellar bursa here, patella. So what is the bursa? Bursa is a soft cushion-like structure which is basically for protection of the tendon. Okay? And hence it will be situated in between a bone and a tendon of a muscle. That bursa. Some of the lymphocytes, they are being processed in a bursa. Okay? And hence these which are processed in the bursa, from the bursa B, they are called as B lymphocytes. And from the area of processing, yani. So some lymphocytes are processed in the thymus, hence called as T lymphocytes. Those processed in the bursa, they are called as B lymphocytes. Processing is not done in the bone marrow, as far as I know. Processing is done in these areas. Bone marrow is basically for leukopoiesis or erythropoiesis or thrombopoiesis. Okay? I'm sorry. This is what happens if you have two lectures in a row. I took one 8 to 9 there and continuing here without break. So it is affecting my vocal cords. Anyway, so it is written here, mostly formed in the lymphoid tissues. Some of them they are formed in the bone marrow. Nucleus surrounded by a thin ring of cytoplasm, like we talked about initially. Cytoplasm is very less, and this is one of the reasons why we cannot see the granules, and hence it is categorized under agranulocytes. Long lifespan inside the tissues, but only a few hours in the blood. Again, the same thing, like neutrophils, like macrophages, okay, lymphocytes. So, there is a double lifespan. Inside the blood, protection inside the blood, and then move out and protect against the tissues, against the bacteria in the tissues. B and T lymphocytes, of course, they are having a very important role in immune reactions, isn't it? So the body is being protected not only by direct phagocytosis, it is also being protected by antigen antibody reaction. So what is antigen and antibody? So there are types of immunity, and you can study immunity so much in microbiology. There is innate immunity, there is passive immunity, there is adaptive immunity, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, humoral immunity and so acquired. One of the acquired is the antigen antibody. So what is an antigen? Foreign protein, any foreign protein, like amino acids and proteins are the building blocks of the body, all bodies, isn't it? So that means our whole body is made up of proteins, but other matter, whatever it is, microorganisms, etc., they are also made up of proteins. So we are protein, they are protein, but the body has a fantastic system of recognizing which is our own protein and which is the foreign protein. Whenever the foreign protein enters the body, Okay? Even this, like I was, we were talking about the processing occurring in the thymus. What is the processing? Basically, the processing is the same thing. That means these lymphocytes, they are actually, if I may use the term training. Okay, they are trained and they are programmed to recognize. So that means a lymphocyte will be exposed to all our proteins. Okay, it will be taught that these are our proteins. This is the body protein. So that when you meet any other foreign protein, you should recognize it as a foreign protein. And that is what the lymphocytes do. I am explaining that very simply. That is what the lymphocytes do. That is what they, as soon as there is a foreign protein, that is called as an antigen. Okay.
All the lymphocytes do like that.
Almost. But there is a division also, because some of them, that is why there is something called as humoral immunity and what is another one?
T-cell mediated immunity.
Antigen antibody reaction. Who is responsible for producing the antibodies? And what are the antibodies?
Immunoglobulins.
Yeah, immunoglobulins, plasma proteins present in the blood, isn't it? The antibodies will come from there, and this antibody will be specific for the one antigen. Okay, and then there will be antigen-antibody reaction. That means this antibody will combine and react with the antigen and neutralize it. Okay, so there is a type 1 hypersensitivity, type 2, type 3 hypersensitivity reactions. This is as a result of the antigen-antibody reactions. Okay, so there is a whole, it's a very interesting thing, the immunity part in microbiology. There, these cells are playing an important role. B and T lymphocytes in the immune mechanisms. B lymphocytes form the plasma cells, natural killer cells against viruses and cancers. So there are many types of cells. There are memory cells, there are supporting cells, there are helper cells, and there are killer cells. It's just like an army. Okay, the soldiers who will kill, and the support staff for the soldiers, and the another staff which is responsible for administration and statistics. Oh, this was the enemy that came before. Memory cells. So they will remember. And there is a whole system, and very, very interesting if you read about it in microbiology, immunity part of microbiology. So this is a review of the functions basically. Today's topic is only about functions of the WBCs, isn't it? So physiology and functions of the WBCs lifespan is a few hours to a few days, as you have understood by now, of all the WBCs, isn't it? Few hours to few days. Few hours basically when they are inside the, broadly, a broad guideline for you is to remember that few hours means basically in the blood, and few days when they migrate to the tissues. They have major histocompatibility antigens on the surface. Identification of the self, like I was talking to you just now. Okay? Identification, differentiating between own proteins and foreign proteins. And then this also helps you understanding about autoimmune reactions. Autoimmune reactions. This is where, that means if you study immunity, you will understand so many things about the human body and what is going on. You will also understand about certain diseases which are called as autoimmune diseases. In autoimmune, to put it very simply, the body which is supposed to see our proteins as our proteins, self-identification, identification of self. In that case, something goes wrong and the body identifies that particular protein as a foreign protein and reacts against it. Those conditions, those diseases that result, they are called as autoimmune diseases or autoimmune reactions. Main functions: combat infection by phagocytosis and play a role in immunity. For this movement, like we have been talking about, that the cells, they are producing the bone marrow and moving around in the blood. But after that, they move out. How do they move out? They move out because of the presence of certain molecules called as adhesion molecules. What is adhesion? Adhesion means to stick to something,
Attach.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So what are these adhesion molecules? Selectins and integrins. Selectins and integrins. So where are selectins? These are the selectins and these are the integrins. Where are the selectins? It's not easy to see here. I'm standing very close so I can see, and you will see this in your computer, of course. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the selectins. Selectins are basically on the endothelial surface. Where are the selectins? On the endothelial surface. And the integrins, where are they? On the cell surface. These are the integrins on the cell surface. So blood flow is there. This causes, a motion called as rolling. In the flowing midstream, inside the blood vessel, the blood is flowing. Where are the formed elements and the plasma? The formed elements are basically flowing in the middle of the blood vessel. Okay? By a process called as rolling. Okay? By a process called as rolling, they will move towards the endothelium. What will help them to adhere? What will help them to stick? Two things. The selectins and the integrins. So the selectins and the integrins, they adhere to one another, stick to one another, causing stoppage. It will not flow anymore. It will not go ahead. Okay? It will stop here. It will stick to the surface of the endothelium. Then what happens? Between the two endothelial cells, this is one endothelium, this is another endothelial cell. The WBC will change its shape. It will try to squeeze in between the two endothelial cells. Okay? Even this process there is a name for this process. This is called as diapedesis. Yeah. This is called as squeezing between the endothelial cells. This movement of the WBC or the leukocyte after adhesion to the endothelium, squeezing out through or in between the endothelial cells, this process is called as diapedesis. D-I-A-P-E-D-E-S-I-S. Diapedesis. And diapedesis occurs whenever there is inflammation. Or inflammation, let me put it more clearly, inflammation will increase the rate of diapedesis. Why? Because it will attract more and more WBCs to the site of inflammation. This process, total process, yani movement of the central flowing WBCs towards the endothelium, then diapedesis through the endothelial or the vascular wall to the outside, and then once it is outside, suppose this is the point of inflammation. Movement, once it is outside, it will not go like this. Okay? It will go to this point. If it is coming out, it will go here. If it is coming out, it will go here. If it is coming out from here, it will go here. So there is a purposeful and unidirectional movement. This purposeful and unidirectional movement of the WBCs once they are outside the blood stream or the blood vessel is called as chemotaxis. What is it? Chemotaxis. Why chemotaxis? Like I have always told you, I think,
Chemical substance.
separate the words to understand them
Chemical
and to
substance.
remember them. Chemotaxis. Taxis means movement. Taxi. Why it is called as a taxi? It takes you from point A to point B, isn't it? So taxis means movement. Chemo, movement which is resulting because of chemical substances or chemical factors which will cause, or chemical mediators. Where are these chemical mediators coming from? Inflammation. As you know, whenever there is inflammation, the inflammatory site will release inflammatory mediators, inflammatory factors, isn't it? These factors act as chemotactic factors. What are they called as? Chemotactic factors, which cause chemotaxis and which also, by the way, define unidirectional movement. That means what? Suppose this is the point of inflammation. here the concentration of chemotactic factors will be maximum at the point of inflammation, isn't it?
Yes.
And here it will be minimum. So there is a gradient. Okay? Minimum concentration of chemotactic factors, maximum concentration. So this chemotaxis will occur from point of low concentration to high concentration for chemotaxis. It will not go here. Why here? Why not here? Because there is the concentration of chemotactic factors is not strong here. The pulling factor is not strong. This is how chemotaxis occurs in relation with diabetes.
Migration of monocyte to the tissue normally occur through the same process.
The same process, but not chemotaxis. I joined here inflammation and chemotaxis also. But this is not about inflammation. This is not in response to inflammation. This is normal migration of neutrophil, of macrophages, of lymphocytes. Okay, normal migration. But
When there's presence of
Yeah.
chemotactic factors, it's called chemotaxis.
it is called as chemotaxis. Chemotaxis is once it is outside the blood vessel. Then from here to the point of inflammation, this movement is called as chemotaxis. Okay, selectins on endothelial cells and attached to the neutrophil surface, so on and so forth. Okay, so we have covered this. Phagocytosis. Let's cover this quickly, mainly by neutrophils and monocytes. What are the steps? One is chemotaxis, second is adherence, and third is ingestion. Chemotaxis I have already explained to you. Attraction of WBCs to site of infection promoted by bacterial toxins. In you can bracket, you can write chemotactic factors. Okay, you know various cytokines and prostaglandins, etc., etc. Okay, kinins from the damaged tissues. There is tissue damage in case of inflammation, and CSFs. What are the CSFs? Chemotactic stimulating factors. Okay, not colony stimulating factors. Chemotactic stimulating factors. Adherence. Adherence means sticking again. Phagocyte attaches to microbe using proteins. Once the microbe is there and the phagocyte is there, it will attach to the microbe using proteins. Also, it will throw out pseudopodia. What are pseudopodia? Pseudo means false. Podia means feet. Isn't it? Pseudopodia. So it will send out two projections. Suppose this is the microorganism. So like this. So these are the pseudopodia. And then it will come and merge here. Now this becomes inside the phagocyte, it becomes a phagosome. Once it is inside. Ingestion. Pseudopores from WBC surrounds microbe formation of a phagosome. Like I have told you, to the phagosome, let us see that. Digestion. The phagosome enters cytoplasm of the WBC and merges with the lysosome. Right? Like the major basic protein, for example. In case of the, where did we read MVP? In case of which cell? Eosinophil. With lysosome. Phago, it will become a phagolysosome. And secretion of lysosomal enzymes followed by release of oxidants, which will cause digestion and destruction of the microorganism. But many a times during this process, the cell also is destroyed, killing as a result of the above, yani this one. Residual bodies get left behind, but they are digested and they disappear. Phases of phagocytosis. So there is chemotaxis. Okay, the microbes, adherence, pseudopode, lysosome, etc., etc. See here, after ingestion, this becomes a phagosome, and these are the lysosomes, lysosomal enzymes. They will get attached. This becomes the phagolysosome. The phagolysosome releases the enzymes inside, causes destruction and killing of the microorganism. Sometimes, like I am telling again and again, this particular process causes the whole phagocyte also to be destroyed. That is why, if the bacterial infection is of a longer duration like chronic, okay, so this person will also suffer from neutropenia. Initially, there will be neutrophilia. There will be an increase in the number of fighting neutrophils. But if the disease attains a chronic nature, it will be there for months maybe. Okay? Then in that case, the person will have, because in the process of fighting, if you have an army, if you keep on fighting, your army will be finished one day. Right? The soldiers will keep on dying. So similarly, the neutrophils, initially they will have increase in number, but if the disease becomes chronic and if the enemy is not being killed off, then our own soldiers will also start to
Because
die.
of drug toxicity, as you mentioned. Or because of drug toxicity, as you mentioned.
Or because of that will be a complicating factor.
Yeah.
If you are giving medicines also, and the disease is chronic, and these medicines they are having the side effect of toxicity, that will also cause neutropenia. Now, a little bit about leukopoiesis. Okay? So what is leukopoiesis? Formation of WBC. Hemopoiesis is basically formation of all the blood components. Here only leukopoiesis. So we are not concerned with erythropoiesis, we are not concerned with thrombopoiesis. These are platelet formation and erythrocyte formation. These are the WBCs which are being formed, and it is again fairly simple. This is the pluripotent stem cell. Pluripotent, again, just split it up. Pluri means many. Potent means having the potency, having the potential. That means this cell is having the potential to become any cell. That is why it is called a pluripotent stem cell, hemopoietic stem cell. It's of why? Factors, and there are differentiating factors. Okay? Growth factors and differentiating factors. Again, from the name itself, growth factor means this factor, when it is released, it will cause growth of that particular group of cells. And the differentiating factor will cause that cell which is having pluripotential, which is having the potential to become any cell, to differentiate into one particular type. Like I told you, it's the fan switching off. It is also cooling down. So, if we want to make granulocytes, maybe neutrophil, the differentiating factor that will act on the colony forming unit. So there is very long names are given. CFU, colony forming units. So colony forming units. So these units, they form colonies. Colonies means group of cells coming together which will make a single type of cell finally. Like for example neutrophil. Okay? So differentiating factor acts on the cell, the stem cell or the hemopoietic cell, and causes it to differentiate or take up the line which will ultimately make a neutrophil. Okay? The initial stages, it's back. So somebody is having a remote. Somebody is having a remote, I think.
No.
Okay, just joking. Maybe it is doing it on its own. So, the initial stage or the initial cells, in case of hemopoiesis, they are all called, or that phase is called as the blast phase. That phase is called as the blast phase. Okay? Why? Because all of them, they are called as blast, neutroblast or lymphoblast. Okay? Erythroblast, proerythroblast, proerythrocytoblast. So that is called as the blast phase here. Lymphoblast, whether it is T or B or the natural killer cell, myeloblast for neutrophils and monoblast for the monocytes. So this is the blast phase, okay? Basophil. Finally leading to that particular cell. What is this? Now here these are the granular, okay? And these are the agranular. These out of the agranulocytes, monocytes, when they come into the tissues, and B lymphocytes when they come into the tissues. When the monocyte come into the tissues, it is called as macrophage. Similarly for neutrophils, it will also be called as a macrophage. But primarily, like I have been telling you since the beginning. Macrophage means basically or most probably it is the monocyte. Okay? Plasma cells are also there, which are basically B side in origin. This is the same in a flowchart form. Granulocytes and monocytes formed only in the bone marrow, stored in the bone marrow and released into the circulation. Lymphocytes and plasma cells also in the lymphoid tissue and stored in the lymphoid tissue and processed there, and few are released into the circulation. Various colony stimulating factors, CSFs, or growth inducers help in their formation. Interleukin 1, 6 and 3, etc. etc. Not only there are colony stimulating factors, I have given you two different names. One was growth factor and another was differentiating factors. All of these are protein in nature. Now the normal WBC count 4,000 to 11,000 as you know, and because of that there are two things, leukocytosis and leukopenia, not neutrophilia and neutropenia. That is for one single cell. This is for all the cells, all the WBCs. So you have to know what are the factors that can cause leukocytosis or leukopenia. Decrease in the cell count and increase in the cell count, which is almost every disease will cause either this or that. So leukocytosis, and in fact the last slides I have given you details of breaking up of leukocytosis, for example. So you will see that because it is good for you, you can study for yourself and just keep in mind those things which can cause increase in neutrophils or decrease in neutrophils. So which disease will cause, so when you get a result of differential count, if you have in your mind that particular information, it is very easy for you to try to pinpoint what is the problem with this particular patient. Like I told you in the beginning, out of the two investigations, TLC and DLC, DLC helps you more as a doctor, not only in diagnosis but also in treatment, isn't it? And because of that, I have included a long number, increase the number of slides. Initially the slides were only 13, so I just added 3-4 more, which will be for your study. So let us go on. Leukocytosis, if we break it up about neutrophils and lymphocytes and monocytes and eosinophils, so these are the conditions in which there will be leukocytosis. More than 11,000, maybe 15,000, 18,000, something like that. Leukopenia is less than 4,000, okay, and that is in case of viral infections, bacterial infections, okay. Bone marrow suppression, antibiotics. So bone marrow suppression can occur because of what? No. Suppression because of what? Bone marrow suppression because of what?
Many factors.
Drugs and radiation. Most common being drugs and radiation. And these are the slides which I have added. Okay, like neutrophil count, high and low. So just go through these. There are so many things which will affect the neutrophils to go this way or that. So lymphocyte count similarly high and low. Monocytes, high monocytes in this. Eosinophils high in this. Okay. So this is for your study, not for your exam. But let me tell you, everything is not for the exams. We cannot test your knowledge in the exam. Exam is just maybe 10% of your knowledge, right? We cannot test 100% of your knowledge. So if you want to become a 100% good professional doctor, you have to study 100%. Forget about the exam.
Yeah.
Study about the exam, okay, but really don't focus yourself on that. I don't know why today Dr. Mazin and Dr. Videsh and everybody is calling me. Okay, so eosinophils and this is basophils, serious food allergy, inflammation, leukemia, this will increase in that. That's it. Okay?
يرجع بيصير يرجع
تلقى في الخط